Hi everyone, Ashley here, and in this video I will share with you why I lost my period for over 5 years. Be sure to check out part 2 of this video series to learn how I got it back, because I got it back just this past week. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. I got my first period when I was 14, a little bit late, but I remember being extremely excited. And from that point on, my period was pretty regular through high school and into college. I got my first serious boyfriend in my sophomore year of college, and I started taking birth control. So I was 18 going on 19 at that point, and I continued taking birth control for the next 7 years. And in those 7 years, I had a regular cycle every time because the pill helped me do that. But during that time, my body definitely changed. To switch gears for a second and to give you a little backstory, when growing up, I was a medium-sized girl, average weight, average height, but I always wanted to be thinner. I tried diets like Atkins and Weight Watchers, started running on a treadmill, but at the same time, I was also eating emotionally. I had a hard time in high school, and I definitely turned to food to cope. So that was a challenging time. And then in college, I ended up having a different experience. I loved school. I had way more friends. I was partying, drinking, doing all the things. But I eventually made my way back to dieting. I think it was right around when I broke up with that first boyfriend. I decided I was going to commit myself wholly to losing weight. I remember the summer before my senior year of college, I lost a ton of weight. I dedicated every day of that summer to exercising and eating well, and I started to control my food. When I went back that fall semester, I was praised with compliments, which only fueled my desire to continue working out hard, eating well, and pursuing this better body. I went to school for journalism, and I decided to pursue health journalism, and my new goal was to work for a health magazine. After school, I eventually moved to New York City. I landed a job at a health magazine and then a health website, and it really became my identity. But as I continued to exercise and eat well, it was never good enough. I had to continue to lose weight. I had to continue to figure out how I could work towards and maintain a perfect body. The solution for me was more coffee, more sugar-free gum, more sugar-free soda, and whatever would suppress my appetite so that I could just eat small meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. During that time, I also started training for a marathon. So I was running every single day, sometimes strength training on top of that. And no matter how hard I trained, my food always stayed the same because I was able to use these other stimulants to suppress my appetite. This, of course, was not sustainable, and I eventually hit a wall when my hair was thinning. I was ridiculously thin for my frame. I had no energy. I wasn't sleeping well. I was exhausted. I was chewing at least 4 packs of sugar-free gum every single day. I felt sick. I had night sweats, all sorts of horrible stuff. And of all things, what made me stop and think is the fact that my hair was thinning. How vain is that? But it's the truth. And at that point, I was so freaked out that I thought I gave myself brain cancer from all the artificial sweeteners. So at that point, I gave up, I stopped chewing gum, I quit artificial sweeteners, I stopped running, and I saw an acupuncturist that suggested the paleo diet, which I then followed for 2 years. And I also stopped taking birth control, and my period did not come back. And the acupuncturist told me that if I followed a paleo diet and ate whole foods and got acupuncture and chilled out, that I would get my period back. And I was super excited about this because now I could eat low carb and not have to exercise so hard, and I could still maintain the same weight. This was also not sustainable because I went from chewing a ton of gum to suppress my appetite and fuel my crazy running habit to restricting and eating primarily chicken and raw kale salads, which really did a number on my digestion and my hormones. I didn't really know what to do at that point. I knew I didn't feel well, and part of me knew that I didn't want to keep restricting, but I was totally lost. And I ended up swinging in the complete opposite direction. And at that point, I started to eat and I just couldn't stop. I was totally out of control and compulsively overate for about a year. During that time, I actually got my period back for about 6 months, but I was overeating and I felt totally sick from binging on junk. Thankfully, at that point of desperation, I found a support group and I started to work with a nutritionist who specializes in eating disorders. And that nutritionist, who I love to this day, gave me a food plan where I would weigh and measure my food. And I thought this was awesome because it was a healthy amount of food and it allowed me to not eat too much, not eat too little, and still be satisfied. I maintained this food plan for 2 years. I started exercising again. I lost a bunch of weight. But shortly after starting this food plan, even though it wasn't extreme, I lost my period again, and I didn't get it back until very recently. I really felt this was unfair because I was eating a healthy amount of food. I was following the rules. I was exercising a healthy amount. I really felt like I was doing all the right things. But the truth is, I was still hanging on to control. The food plan became a safe space for me. I had to weigh and measure my food. I didn't bring my food scale with me to restaurants, but there were many times when I decided not to go out to dinner or not to go to social gatherings because I wanted to feel safe and I wanted to be in control of what I was eating. I did not want to live that way, but I didn't know how to get out. I can't credit one thing for helping me figure it out, but in part 2 of this video series, I talk about how I came to where I am today with my cycle back in action. And I will say that Kundalini yoga, meditation, breath work, and the practices that I share on this channel were a crucial part of my recovery. And I do credit these tools for helping me let go of control, let go of fear, and discover some of the blocks that I had been holding on to for 20 years. So I encourage you to check out part 2 if this applies to you. And I definitely look forward to sharing more with you guys in general. So as always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Love you all.